This guy was a couple of years older than I. He played on the offensive line. He says pro right and pro left, 34 and 35 counter GT, baby. Johnny Hill, as far as I'm concerned, the best high school coach to ever walk the field. Had a pretty distinguished career in the state of Mississippi. And those plays stayed even after Johnny Hill left Oxford and moved on. Do you guys run a bunch of counter stuff? Hey, Dad?
No, we ran a lot of power.
Not a ton of diversity. It was we're just going to beat you or we're not.
Yeah.
So you
we had a
you rarely
way
had guards and tackles pulling.
I maybe pulled twice my senior year. Didn't run a lot of sweeps either.
Really?
Our system for numbering the holes, I think, is different than everybody else in the high schools in Mississippi. When I describe it to people, they're like, "What?" So, like, where was the one hole for you? Where was it?
Inside hip left guard.
Okay, the one hole for us was a sweep. 31 was a sweep.
See, that was 39.
We went.
I mean,
yeah,
everything odd was left. Everything even was right. 0 was basically the center's crack, and then
5 was directly up the center.
Really?
We went 1, 2, 3, starting at right tackle or right end. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 9 was a sweep to the left side.
Never. That's the most complicated thing I've ever heard of for high school football.
Well, and what's funny is, like, when you're playing, like, I didn't know any better. I was like, I guess this is how everybody does it. And then I would talk to people, and they were like, wait a minute, how did you have a 31 sweep? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, and then I learned, I was like, evidently St. Aloysius under Bubba Booth was the only school in the country that did the holes that way.
Yeah, so 0 was the center's crack. 1 was off the hip of the left guard. 2 was off the hip of the right guard.
Yeah, 4 and
3
6
was wider, 4 was wider, and then you got to the sweeps.
Yeah.
So somebody says, here you go, talking crack again. Yeah, different kind of day, yeah, no doubt.
Our most popular play, the play we ran the most, black right 32 power. I can still remember it. Power eye formation.
32 power was tailback off right tackle right side.
Off right tackle, yeah. And we would run. That's a 2 tight end formation with a strong back and a full back. And we're just coming right at you.
So we were primarily pro sets, but So I mean, it was our base formation was fullback, tailback, in an eye, with a tight end either to the right or the left, and then 2 receivers right, 1 receiver left. And then you might load up slot, view it strong right or strong left, and
we were 2 tight ends. We occasionally had a flanker out there, but that was about it. Flanker is a term you don't hear anymore, by the way. It's always just wide receivers now.
Yeah, that is gone away.
We had flanker and split end back in the day. So my junior year, we tried to make a change, and we went to sort of an offshoot of the run and shoot, where it was more of an option-based, but we were running 4 wide. We won the first game, and then we lost the next 2 games. We just got hammered. And after the third game, our coach, we were just sitting there on the field. We've just lost. And he basically says, F this. We're going back to the power eye. It's like, we're not doing this anymore. And we went back to the power eye, and we finished with a winning record.
So out of a pro-style formation, we ran a good bit of option, but it was all fake option stuff. You were, fullback, you were reading off the end. Or, if it was a trap option, you might have been reading a defensive tackle. But when it was
we didn't run much option.
So I didn't play quarterback I didn't start until my senior year. They knew I was slow, so there was no speed option stuff where I was just taking the snap and was, just attacking a defensive end. The guys before me and some of the guys after me, they would do that. But it was a different altogether option look than we're talking about in today's game.
We had 2 QBs. We had one who was more of a passer and one was more of a runner. The guy who was more of a runner started a few games at USM at safety. He was born about 20 years too early because he could run like a deer and he could throw the ball okay. But in like today's offenses, he would have been really, really good. In our offense, we had to design plays for him to carry the ball sometimes.
Yeah. and the string of running backs that we had really from the time I was a freshman or a sophomore up through the time I graduated, I mean, just dude after dude after dude. And they didn't all look the same, right? I mean, some were like the big, thick bruiser you didn't want to see, like a linebacker didn't want to see him coming at him. And then some of them were guys that, looked like a gazelle running. But they were, I mean, just dude after dude. They had a quarterback, might have had some success along the way, or more success. Sports talk. Hey, Dad, be honest. Did you sit here, and Borky, you as well, did you sit here through the entire break and, just think about high school football and how much you miss it?
Well, I'm having a conversation with someone who played at Jackson St. Joe here on the text line, and we're just talking about some of the old days there. He's a little older than I am, obviously, but still a lot of Catholic football history happening there.
Yeah, man, it's been 13 years since I walked off the field for the last time. So
be 29 this year.
So
it's so funny too. It's like I'm 46, right? I'm a grown man. I have 2 children. One of them's a junior in high school. But there's not a day that goes by where I just don't have a memory or something where I just don't think about it. It's just part of your life,
So we got bounced in the first round of the playoffs my senior year. So that would have been, mid-November 1998? So that's 24 years ago? Wow.
And the end is, for most people anyway, I guess if you win a state championship your senior year, like some kind of rom-com, congrats to you. But for the rest of us, the ending is kind of unceremonious. My senior year was the second round. We went down to Fort Dorchester, beat them in the first round, and then we had to play Burns in the second round with Chase Dodd, who went to Rutgers at quarterback, and a couple of defensive ends that played in it was a powerhouse. And they beat us pretty badly on their home field that night, and it was just kind of over. Like, we get back to the school, and it's, turning your pads and handshake with the coaches and, thank you for your hard work and, good luck in college. It's just over. The damnedest thing. I'm with Hey Dad. I've got a little helmet in my home office that's got it's my high school helmet in a small replica they made for all of us. And I look up at it sometimes, and it brings me back to certain days. But, man, I wish I would have realized at the end, I would have done that cheesy thing and sat on the field for a while. Yeah. The game ended. I hugged my parents. We got on the bus and drove home. Yeah. I didn't soak it in like I should have.
Yeah. I conveniently had forgotten the exact final score. It actually wasn't as bad as I remembered. We played at Clarksdale on Friday, November 13th, and got beat 42-0 in the first round of the playoffs. That's how it ended.
Yeah.
By the way,
99?
Clarksdale that year went 13-1. Their only loss was a 7-point loss in September to South Panola, and they cruised through the playoffs en route to a state championship game. State championship
99
over Columbia.
Season?
98 season.
Tarnica Counselor played
Mm-hmm.
for them. Mario Hagan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Richard. Jeez Louise. Those teams were loaded.
Yep, they were.
We lost 30-26 to Scott Central in my final game. We scored with about a minute and a half to go and couldn't hold them, and lost in the first round of the playoffs.
Clicking the year before, they also won the state championship in 1997. That was a pretty good run for Clarksdale. The old Wildcats playing at Crumpton Field there in the Delta. So yeah. Enough about.
Good times.
I only mention that because sitting here through the break, if you played high school football, my guess is that conversation probably sparked it for you as well. Right? You were thinking back to that time in which you played high school football. And it's crazy. We bring all this up because high school football practice is going to begin across the state of Mississippi next week. And it's different than it used to be, right? Because they practice all summer long. They have very organized weight training programs and morning practices throughout the summer and 7-on-7 leagues, and it's a lot. But you still start camp. And did you guys do morning practices?
Yeah.
The week before camp?
Oh, we had 2 days, man.
Okay. So did we. So when I say morning practice, what is the first thing that pops into your head?
And this will happen next week. Is my mom waking me up? She'll call.
Oh.
My mom will call me. My mom will call me next week, and I'll just pick up the phone and be like, "Hello," and she'll be like, "Brian, it's time for practice. You got to get up." And I mean, just immediately a cold shiver will go down my back of thinking about getting up at 6 a.m. and going to the field house and getting dressed, and the heat and the humidity and the grass and the heat rash.
Okay, you got to it for me. It took you. You
rash?
had a lot of words to get. No, not heat rash.
I'm about to say, man, get the skin lube out.
No. Dew and grass.
And the fog, but it wasn't fog. It was the
it was like just the steam coming off the
haze,
field, right?
Coming off.
It's haze.
I mean, I can still see the state. We would practice so early. The coaches would turn the lights on the field. That's how we would have to start. Man, we spent 1 year. They took us my sophomore year down to Myrtle Beach at this. It was like a church camp facility, and we did 4 days for a week. 4 practices a day for a week.
Oh God, no.
In Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Myrtle Beach,
that's disgusting, Borky.
It was horrible.
Oh.
And I'm surprised nobody got
alive.
sued. I really am surprised nobody got sued because
that's not.
By the 3rd day, the hand in the ground guys, so offensive and defensive linemen, their hands were blistering because the dirt there is not dirt. It's just black, like low country sand. And we had ruined the field by like the 3rd day, and guys' hands are blistering up. So we had to wrap our hand. That was the worst experience of my life. 4 days.
I thought you were younger than us, Borky. Your offensive lineman didn't have gloves.
How did you have it worse? How did you have it worse? You sound like our dads.
Well,
talking about not getting any water or anything.
We never did that again.
I can still taste water coming out of a PVC pipe.
That was the best.
So the structure on our 2-a-day practices, morning was primarily conditioning, and then afternoon was like the full longer practice.
Yeah.
And so
bear crawls, bunny hops.
I was going to say, that's the thing. Even before conditioning, you still went through full team stretch, which meant it wasn't just bending over and touching your toes. You were getting on the ground and rolling around in that fresh cut grass with the dew, and it's sticking to you. And it's like, I haven't even broken a sweat yet. And I'm just disgusting. And then it's like, yeah, whatever, let's go.
We called them Jacob's Ladder. I'm sure this is a line drill. Start on the goal line, sprint to the 10, run back, sprint to the 20, run back, sprint to the 30. I mean,
Yep.
Yeah. Those were the days.
Yeah,
bunny hopping a whole 100 yards, not fun.
You say that I had it harder than you. However, so the county that I grew up in would send two athletic trainers that worked at the county hospital would go to every high school and be the sports trainers. And they had this little device that if it reached a certain feels like temperature, they were required by the county to stop practice. So that's why we had the lights on in the morning, because we had to start practice at 5 a.m. because they wanted to make sure we would get practice in. And then our second practice of 2-a-days would be as the sun's setting, because the trainer would shut practice down if it reached, I think it was like 102, feels like. They would shut practice down as by rule from the county. So we had it hard, but you guys didn't have a trainer out there with a little device in their hand holding it up in the air to make sure it didn't get too hot. So,
yeah.
No.
They didn't bring the trainers with us to Myrtle Beach, though. I still don't know how the school or the coaches didn't get sued. I have no idea.
Somebody should have died. You're very lucky.
We got lucky.
Our one coach always said the same thing. You'll pass out before you die. If you pass out, we'll get you off the field.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go.
And the water dog. The water trough, the PVC pipe that was rigged up that had holes punched in it with a hose screwed into one end of it, and that was how you drank water?
Yep. That's right.
Ooh. Let's see here.
By the time when you were a senior, you got to go first. Freshman had to wait.
Chris says the horse is what we called it. Essentially, hey, Dad, what you were talking about on Jacob's Ladder, suicides.
Yeah, suicides was always like a basketball thing.
Yeah. Well, and then gassers. When you had 110s.
Gassers were across the fields, yeah.
Yep.
Not fun.
No,
we ran hills, too. Do you know your way around Vicksburg? I would. We used to run the hill. And not fun. In full pads, not fun to run a hill on a street.